Good morning and welcome to Need to Know Westford. I'm Cathy Ricketson.
I'm Beth Morrison.
And this morning we're delighted to have Patti Mason and Tim Baker from our Westford Food Pantry and Senior Center Food Programs to talk to us about food insecurity and programs that we have in Westford to remedy that problem. Good morning. Good morning, Patti. Good morning, Tim.
So we're talking about food insecurity today. So a lot of people, what is food insecurity? People might not know exactly. The USDA defines food insecurity as a lack of consistent access to enough food for every person in a household to live an active, healthy life. This can be a temporary situation, if you lose a job and you don't have access to fresh food, or it could be a long-term situation for folks. Food insecurity is one way that we can measure how many people can't afford food. The USDA estimates that there's more than 34 million people, including 9 million children, who experience food insecurity in the United States.
Okay. With that in mind, it's both a national issue, a state issue, and a local issue. Let's talk about how did the food bank begin in Westford? How did your programs begin, and what is your role?
Sure, thank you. The Westford Food Pantry was started, I understand, around 1973. And it was started initially literally in a 2-drawer file cabinet, and it was initially initiated for veterans. So it was a focus on veterans coming back and obviously having food insecurity and trying to stabilize their own life and having the shortages of simple things like food. Like I literally said, out of a 2-drawer file cabinet. And that was 1973. So it's grown considerably since that time, which is good and bad. It's good that the resources are there. It's obviously bad that the demand is there also. So currently today, we operate out of the Cameron Senior Center. We're a fully volunteer organization. We're open about 6 hours a week for residents and non-residents to come and basically get what they need. And we focus on the basic levels of just being able to wake up and not be hungry. And we take everyone who wants to come to the door. It's a need-based pantry. So if you feel you need help, then we're welcome to have you come visit us.
So it's open to all?
Correct, right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and what is your role, Tim?
I'm the president.
You're the president.
Right.
And what is the overarching structure of the food pantry?
We're obviously, I think I said, we're a 100% volunteer-based organization. We have about probably 15 active volunteers that are doing something every week in support of the food pantry and obviously trying to target food insecurities. And we have different roles, so we're always open for volunteers. If people in the neighborhood would love to come and volunteer, we always have things to do, and they range from working with the clients to working in the warehouse to picking up food. So there's always many things where people can chip in, and we're always grateful for their help.
So did you see any change during the pandemic for the needs in the community for this resource?
Absolutely. When the pandemic hit, we had to do a radical change in our process immediately, basically overnight. Where currently right now and back then, clients could come in, they could do their shopping in our quote-unquote store and get what they like and go. Once the pandemic hit, we had to basically move everything outside. We had to go to a pre-packed bag situation where people would drive through. We would give them a bag of basically staples that we would put together, and they would be off on their way. We weren't able to obviously have any direct interaction there. But we saw a huge demand because, again, obviously people were not working, people were out of jobs, people's jobs had been cut. So there was definitely a spike in demand for probably for a period of about a year. But we were able to, again, the nice thing that we're very proud of is that during that whole process, we never missed a week. We were open every week on our hours throughout the whole change. And we looked different, we changed differently, but we were there. So it was a really great support by our volunteers.
And how many families do you have that, on average, that use the services?
Yeah, we have, on an average month, we've got about 115, 120 families that will come through the pantry. We serve over 250 individuals out of those families. Our current run rate, we're doing about 1,100 bags of groceries a month that we'll distribute. And we have about 275 visits to our pantry every month.
Wow.
Wow, that's
So
very
it's
busy.
a lot of people. It's kind of like the mystery unknown where people don't realize that there's that type of need in our town. And it's anybody, and they can be there for any reason. Again, temporary loss, health issue, change in environment, and all of a sudden people need a little extra help. And like I said, we're there for them.
And often healthcare emergencies as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So food prices are high right now. We all know that. How are you coping, and how is that affecting the food pantry?
Well, we're fortunate that we get a bunch of our food and resources from the community. So we get a lot of donations, both in food and monetary, from the community. We're very well supported in this town.
The food prices are so high right now.
So we're fortunate that we get a bulk of our food from the Merrimack Valley Food Bank, and we don't typically pay for that, so we get that as part of the social resources that we have. So we're kind of shielded from food there. What we're seeing, again, is more demand from our clients, because as food prices go up, they're not getting the benefits to cover and keep pace with the increased pricing. So we're seeing people having to make choices and make sure that they focus on the staples they need. But what we also try to do is try to provide some of the little quote-unquote extras that people can't get. And simple things like personal care products, which aren't covered typically under a SNAP program or any kind of funding program. And those are expensive, as we know. So just simple basic things like shampoo and toothpaste and things that cleaning products are a big thing. And especially during COVID, that was a big thing, because everyone was obviously very hypersensitive about cleaning and dusting and cleaning off surfaces. And that stuff isn't covered by programs. So we focused a lot on kind of personal care products, and we have that every month. So once a month, clients can come through, they can basically stock up on personal care products, and that's a big hole in their family budget. So it's a big resource for them.
And can they pick their own products, like off the shelf, or do you prepackage things for folks?
Yeah, no, they can pick their own package and do pick their own things off the shelf. So we have our quote-unquote store, which is about as big as this studio. But one of the things that people, and we hear back from our clients that they enjoy, is they can come in and do their own shopping. So, we'll walk through with them in the pantry, but they can pick what they like. And we feel that's a much better model, because, we don't know what their family's like, and they do. And it also gives them a sense of independence, that they can come in, pick the foods for their family, things that their family likes, and go on from there. So as opposed to just being handed a bag, which we had to do during COVID, and something's better than nothing, but even before COVID, our model's always been come in and get what you need, because you know better than we do.
Oh, that's a wonderful model. It
really works, and I think the clients really appreciate that, again, that independence of being able to pick their own food, which everybody wants to do.
Which everyone wants to do.
Right.
I couldn't wait to get back to the supermarket. I didn't like not being able to walk down the aisles and pick things out. So Patti, how did you come to be involved in this effort?
Well, I work with Tim all the time with the program that we're involved with. Francis Kosinko and myself are co-chairs of the senior food distribution program. It's mainly people 55 or older. We do work with Allison, the social worker. If there's a family that's having a rough time and needs extra food, they could go to the pantry, or they could go to us, or they go to both, depending on how their needs and that type of thing. And the food distribution program started, I would say, what would you say, about 5 to 6 years ago. Yeah. I wasn't involved then, but I would say 4 years ago I got involved as a volunteer, and we receive all the extra food from Whole Foods, from Trader Joe's, from Panera, and on certain nights, and also occasionally food from Walmart in Hudson through the Rotary Club. And so what we do is very similar to what Tim had to do during COVID. We had to pre-package, and the people, like you say, they didn't get to pick, so sometimes we would put things in the bags that they really didn't need or didn't want, type of thing. So we always just told them, give it to a friend, but we put it out like a grocery store, and we have frozen, we have fresh vegetables, we have breads, we have desserts. We've even had, in the frozen, we've had goose, we've had bison, we've had a little bit of everything type of thing. And so they go through, and depending on the day of the thing, we average between, on Mondays, I would say 70 plus. seniors, and on Thursdays, that's the other day, we see 60 plus. Last year, between just January and December, we saw over 5,760 seniors or others that use the process. And some people occasionally come both days, but some just come one day type of thing, or their needs during that, time. But it's just they go through, we'll say, okay, you can pick one from this section, you can pick two from this section, or you can pick three. We get, in the summer, I've worked out with the Stony Brook farm over on 119. They're at the Rodenbush Farmers Market. I pick up their extra stuff, and they donate anything that's left to us. And
wow, and that's straight from the farm.
Straight from the farm. And anything that we have, Tim and I work together and with Francis and everything, and anything we have left, we try to give to them, and anything they have too much of, they give to us. So we really try to work together on it, and it's good for both.
I happened to be there
on
one of the days, and what really struck me was not only the high quality of the food. There were a lot of things from Whole Foods that day, a lot of fresh food, but also the camaraderie as people were sitting in the senior center waiting for the program. And again, there's no pre-qualifying.
No.
You can just come, and it's open to all seniors.
Right.
Okay, so that's wonderful.
And it just, we just find out that, like you say, the food insecurities, they don't feel like, and the socialization type of thing.
Right.
And on Thursdays, if I pick up at Trader Joe's, and a lot of times they have flowers, and so they'll maybe get a bouquet of flowers on top of it to take home. But it's just, we just see, and I've had many a person come up to me and say, you don't know how this helps my budget. I can put my heat a little higher, same way with the food pantry, or I can, do that type of thing.
Especially when heat prices were going up this year.
Right.
Yes.
Can you explain how residents can get access to the food bank? So it sounds like there's no pre-approval, there's no application. You can just come when the events are happening, when you're open, right?
Correct. So at the food pantry, like I said, it is a needs-based pantry. So if you have a need, then you're welcome to come. And obviously, people that we serve. So it's literally a simple exercise of your name and your ID, and that's it. And we're open to surrounding towns too. So about 75% of our clients are Westford-based, and about 25% come from the surrounding area.
And that's an important point, because sometimes people may not want to go in their own community, but may want to go next door.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with the senior-based one. I would say 90% of ours is Westford-based, and 10% are out of town. They're under 55. For our program, all I do is I ask them to go speak to Allison for a quick second, because she might be able to help them with other resources and that type of thing. Then she just comes and I put their name on the list, and that's the last time that we have to ask.
That's wonderful. So now I'll ask Patti to put on one of her other hats, her many hats. So how do residents and community groups support you? I wanted to ask you as a member of Rotary, because they often support these programs, and they have a June initiative, right?
Right. Right now, our June initiative is that we always do in June a food for the food pantry, that type of thing, because we know that is one of the, June and July and August are one of their lowest months of getting supplies, toiletries, snacks. So that's one of the programs that we always sponsor in June, and we try to get it out there. And sometimes they can't go by, so they'll Venmo Rotary, and then I'll go buy certain things. But that's an important thing. Another program the Rotary does, and we use for both the food pantry and our senior program, we've been lucky enough to, I was able to set up a donation program with the Walmart in Hudson, New Hampshire. We get food, we get clothes, and we give to the food pantry as well as us, as well as we get clothes which go to the Wish Project and to the DCF, and sometimes even to the senior center with certain things. I think one of our big things right after Thanksgiving, I think we got over 300 cans of organic pumpkin, and we were all trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to put this, Patti? So we were able to get it out there. But we try to find a home. Right now, it's not too bad, but my garage looks like the Walmart annex type of thing.
And do you have other donation places that people can donate, or a website that they can go to, or how do they?
Sure. So for the Westford Food Pantry, we have a website, westfordfoodpantry.org. On that, gives a lot of information regarding where you can make donations, how to make donations, both monetary donations and food donations. And any questions you have. There's also a list on there that are kind of our most required items and things that we need. One thing that I do want to mention, one of the silver linings of the whole COVID situation was that we were able to work with the senior center and access some funding, and we were able to buy some new equipment. So historically, we've kind of worked out of old, home freezers and home refrigerators, and we were limited in our offerings because we couldn't store anything. So it was all non-perishable, most of it. But again, as we know, when we talk about food pricing, a lot of the things that have really got expensive are fresh fruits and vegetables. So we were able to get some financing. We were able to get some industrial refrigerator and freezers, which greatly expanded our ability to offer fresh goods.
Fantastic.
So now, we've done this for the last probably 2 years now, is we get delivered every week about $400 to $500 of fresh food, either vegetables or fruits, and we're able to put them out, and then we're able to store them if we have excess, where in the past we couldn't. So it's really enabled us to offer a much broader offering to our clients, which they've really much appreciated. So that's been, again, a silver lining for the COVID world.
Actually, we had the same thing happen with the senior distribution program. We were finding, because of the food laws, I'm food certified and everything, so I have to follow all the same rules and everything like that.
Sanitary conditions.
And sanitary and refrigeration and freezing, that we were able to get some funding through both the Rotary as well as the Greater Lowell Community Foundation to buy a freezer and a refrigerator. Otherwise, a lot of this food would be going into, for both of us, would be going into the trash, because we can only keep it so long.
Right, and I know that Rotary just received a gift from the 100 Women Who Care.
Yes, and we just received $10,000 after we gave our little talk and everything. There were 3 nonprofits that presented, and they vote that night, and we were lucky enough to win. And we're going to divide it. We're working on how much money for each group or that type of thing. But part of it's going to go to we're very into the food distribution insecurities, and also for children needs. So we're going to be doing some purchasing of certain products, as well as in the fall or the winter, we've done it in the past, where we do food packaging of dried ingredients, where it might be cooked cereal, or it might be desserts, or it might be something else. But we actually put the packages together through the First Parish Church United donates their room, and they donate some matching money. We also are, for the children's insecurities, we're hoping to, there's a program called Heavenly Beds and Littleton, and we're hoping to build some beds. Their motto is no child shall sleep on the floor for these.
Right, because when you come in contact with families that have insecurities, then you can find out other needs, and sometimes you can help with that as well.
Right.
So what else should the town be doing to address food insecurity? Are there other things that you would have dreams of doing that you don't have the funding for or the support to do right at this time?
Well, one of the things that we're excited about is we've been working with the town in the development of Town Farm Road, which hopefully eventually will be the new home for the pantry. Obviously, we'd love it to be now, but it's probably still a couple years away. But that's been a huge support, and we've had great discussions with the town, and we're very excited to be able to move into kind of.
And that will be a larger space for you.
A larger space. We can lay it out much better logistically. I mean, right now, all our warehouse is down in the basement, so everything we bring in, we have to bring down to the basement, and then when we stock the store, we have to bring everything back up.
And no elevator.
And there's no elevator, so
Wow.
it's humping food up and down. So we're very excited to get a facility that has on a single floor, that has a loading dock, that, again, we can set up, much more efficiently in terms of distribution and storage. More discreet, a little more, confidential. So we think that will be very nice, but we'd love it to happen as soon as we can. But that's exciting, and the town's been great in supporting and identifying that as a home for the pantry.
So I was wondering if the school committee or the Board of Health programs also address this, and what you can tell us about that.
Well, our involvement with the schools is much more of a contribution. So we work closely with all the schools in town, and they've been very supportive with food drives with the kids. And we get a number of food drives throughout the year, from the schools, sponsored from all the different schools, which really helps us in terms of getting our goods. So they've been very good with that in terms of the teachers taking the lead, and also service groups around town, whether they're scouts or church groups or any kind of community-based groups. Typically, will come to the pantry. And obviously, a lot of it happens, unfortunately, like in big bulbs, like right around the holidays. It's on people's top of mind, and we get a lot. So we try to keep out there like we're doing today, and letting people know, food insecurity happens all year long. So a lot of people, it gets out of their head once, get through Thanksgiving and the holidays and whatever. But as Patti mentioned, the summer is probably our most challenging time, because a lot of those groups aren't in session over the summer, and schools clearly aren't in session. So there aren't as many organized food drives going on, but the demand is still there, and demand even can be more in the summertime, because families are grappling with childcare and how they manage through the summer process. So their needs can even go up, especially if they're not getting resources from like a school lunch program. So we try to keep it in front of the community that in the summertime is really a tough time, and we'd love the support we can get is important right now.
Well, we talked to our health director and town nurse, and we realized how many nutrition programs they do. So it all comes together to help families understand how to boost their nutrition, where to access fresh food, and how they can, keep the children very healthy and very active, right?
Right.
The farm in Concord gaining ground. On Thursdays, they give that food, the vegetables and sometimes fruit and that type of thing, out over at Tadmuck. But at the end of the day, around 2 o'clock or so, they may have food left. So they actually bring it right over to us,
that's wonderful.
and then we hand it out to our people. But also the community garden, several of the plots are done by people that just grow for us. And so on Thursdays and Mondays, I pick up any extra vegetables, and they have them in coolers.
So how can folks get involved and volunteer if they're interested in joining your
Sure.
work?
So the pantry, again, we have a website, westfordfoodpantry.org. There is a tab there to click on if you want to help. And there's a number of different ways you can help. A lot of times, we'll urge people to do their own local food drives, like in their neighborhood or whatever. But there is obviously volunteer opportunities, in the organization. And so there is an application online. That's the best way.
Great.
Same way with the thing, you can call the senior center and say you might be interested in helping out with the senior distribution days, and a lot of times we have people go on there, or we need trucks to pick up on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday to pick up, because our organization is a complete volunteer organization, just like the food pantry is.
And I think sometimes people think there's a stigma to, picking up food. You have made it so open, so welcoming. But how do you address that problem? You open it up to the 25% who are not in town. Mm-hmm. And in what other ways do you fight that?
Well, it's a bit of a challenge, because you want to be respectful, and confidentiality is an issue. I mean, one way that we do that is you don't accept volunteers, unless they're out of high school or over 18. because we don't want a situation where you have some kids in there and their neighbors next to them in the pantry type of thing. So we do that. Again, there's a lot of things volunteers that under 18 can do, and that's where we encourage local food drives and those things. But we do respect that in terms of having not kids in there while the clients are in there. Right.
And as social workers, I think we know more than most people that at some point, many people, if not most people, at some point in their lives will experience a budget crunch, food insecurity, through a health crisis or something else that we don't expect, but often happens. And it's wonderful if we can turn to our community when that happens.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I became a social worker. My mom started a food pantry in our garage. I grew up in a small town in the Midwest in the 80s when all the factories were closing and the unions were all on strike. And so we had a lot of needs in our community, and our family also, my dad was laid off here and there. And so it was an available resource for our community and one way that we were able to give back to our community. And it also encouraged me to go into helping others and become a social worker.
Right.
And I had the same thing. When I was in graduate school, I helped, I had worked at a shelter for youth, Covenant House in New York City. And out of that, some of my Covenant House colleagues started a food program in the Bronx. And at that time, there was just a tremendous need. And that program is still running today. It's served more than 1 million meals and has morphed into a community resource center. But when you see the people come through the door, when you first open your doors, and then you realize it's all walks of life and all ages.
Right.
So I think we've both had that experience. We also wanted to talk about recent trends that we've seen in Massachusetts.
So Project Bread is our statewide organization, I think, that is promoting policies to help fight food insecurity in Massachusetts. So they've collected a lot of studies and statistics, and they found that prior to the pandemic, household food insecurity in Massachusetts was 8.2%. But during the pandemic, it peaked at 19.6% of households were food insecure. And while the current rate of food insecurity is lower now after the pandemic, it's still at the higher, than it was pre-pandemic, and too many households are still struggling with food access. So recent trends show that food insecurity among households with children in Massachusetts is trending upwards from the low that we saw in April 2021 when families were receiving a lot of federal and state benefits during the pandemic. All those have ended at this point. And then we had the inflation. So a combination of those factors is leading to an increase of rates have been fluctuating between 19% and 22% as early as March 2023. An estimated 22.2% of households with children are facing food insecurity. Project Bread has outlined 5 pillars that we can focus on in Massachusetts to end hunger in Massachusetts by 2030.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about the 5 pillars?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Pillar 1 would be increasing access and improving quality of child nutrition programs. Pillar 2 is increasing access and affordability for food for all. Pillar 3 is integrating food access into healthcare. I think that's an interesting
Yes.
idea. And 4, strengthening and integrating the local food system using our community gardens. Pillar 5 is ensuring economic stability and to promote economic opportunities to address the root causes of hunger.
Yes, I want to pick up on Pillar 3, just integrating food access into healthcare. I have been working with cancer families over the last 7 years, and as we know, for healthcare in Massachusetts over the last 25 years, there's been much more of a focus on nutrition, especially when you're under treatment, and in medicine overall, more focus on good nutrition for good health going forward. So not only for preventive care, but also during treatment for a whole host of illnesses, and how much good food and fresh food and nutritious food can help us at that time. So we just want to thank you so much. I don't think we've left anything unsaid.
The only thing I was going to add I forgot to do is the Rotary Club. One of the things we received from the Walmart was vegetable seeds and flower seeds. And so we took over the seed catalog at the library. And so we've, over the beginning of the summer, we filled it up. I just had to refill it up yesterday. So go to the library. It's down on the lower level. And I'm getting next week the 2023 seeds, which will be probably about 2,000 more packets of seeds. So in flowers and vegetables. So we'll be keeping that going, type of thing. So
that is
but,
fantastic.
You know, people can grow their own, even in a bucket. You know,
I mean, even in a container.
Yes.
On your
I just
porch
have to
or
fight
deck.
the squirrels and the chipmunks.
That's why I do
rabbits,
containers on my deck.
the deer, all the wildlife also likes to enjoy that. So that's my challenge with growing a garden. I also wanted to mention one other action that people can take. One thing that's really been helpful for families in Massachusetts to fight hunger is universal free school meals. Breakfast and lunch have been universally free, which I've enjoyed for my family because I don't have to think about lunch every day. And did I pay for that? And did I put enough money in the account? And, and we all know as social workers that universal programs are the most effective way to really reach everyone, because you're always going to have that stigma. And, people don't like to do the paperwork to fill out, even though we do have a needs-based program, but I think a universal program really reaches everyone. So there is a bill at the State House to make this universal school meals for all permanent in Massachusetts. So if you go to feedkidsma.org, you can find more information about that and contact your state legislature to ask them to support this bill.
Thank you again for coming to join us. I think we've heard all we need to know for Westford, for where to find help with your family's food budget, and it's open to all. I would encourage anyone who's listening to this program to think about volunteering and joining you, because you can never have enough volunteers. And I want to thank the two of you especially for all that you do volunteering in the community. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I do want to note there, if you are looking at food contributions, there are bins around town that you can put your contributions in. There's one in the Rodenbush. There's one in front of the Market Basket. And there's a couple other strategic ones around. Again, that's also on our website, but there are places to drop, and you can always drop things at the senior center.
And you also take cash donations,
We
right?
absolutely, it always fits.
Sometimes that can go further,
Well,
the cash donations.
Yes.
Well, that's important
'Cause you know
because
the needs.
Exactly, it allows
That's right.
us to kind of supplement where we're weak. We may need spaghetti sauce one week or whatever. So the cash is very flexible. So we do appreciate any monetary, so we can fill in the blanks.
And if a business wanted to put out a collection box, they can contact you or
Absolutely.
contact the Rotary, and especially in the month of June, collect for the Rotary.
Absolutely.
And that would be a wonderful thing for our businesses in Westford to do.
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you so
Thank you.
much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking us.
Thanks again.